12 miles apart, and I won't leave, 'cause I guarantee that I'll never find where you are. Won't be, 'cause I'll never see why you're so afraid that you all walk away from me. You're so afraid that you all run away from me.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for returning. This is Stigma Does Not Define Us, a podcast by Mental Health, and we're so grateful that you returned. Mental's goal is to feature stories of people who have been through very difficult times, depression, anxiety, PTSD, substance abuse, and to feature their stories of reaching out for themselves and getting better, getting therapy, finding new coping mechanisms. And we want to bring those stories here to inspire you to hang on in your darkest moments. And today we have Elle Seline. Did I say that right, Elle?
You did.
Thank you. This young woman, I am so impressed with, and I'm looking at her Instagram page, and I just love the Bullies Out UK and Change Your Stars Official. I looked at those pages and I was like, they're so thoughtfully done. I was just very impressed. And you're a singer. You're just wildly talented and very sensitive out there in the community, spreading mental health awareness. So I'm just going to let you take it from here and just tell us your story and what inspired you to build what you have built out here in the mental health community.
Hi there. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're all well. So with regards to the Bullies Out things, I'm actually just an ambassador to Bullies Out. It's not my page. It's a page that it's a charity that I've been involved with. So I'm one of the ambassadors for that page, which is amazing. So main thing for me is my own experience with mental health. I have a diagnosis of BPD, also known as EUPD if you're in the UK region.
Yes.
And I also have a diagnosis of PTSD, depression and anxiety. And one of my main things in life is to help other people who are struggling like I am. Because when I was younger, there wasn't that openness about mental health. There wasn't that openness about talking about it. And I found solace in pages, very, very open pages that were just unapologetically describing and explaining and helping people.
Yes.
So I decided actually, through social media, it's a very powerful tool. As much as it's really a dangerous tool, it's also a really powerful tool when used correctly. So moving forward, when I was moving backwards, if you like, when I was younger, I was in school when I moved to the UK when I was about 10, and my experience in school wasn't the best experience. I was not popular. I was bullied by my peers due to my appearance. I was also subject to quite not very nice behaviour, especially from the young men at my school. And through that, there was no intervention, there was no discussions, there was no support there. And with in turn, I turned to alcohol and drugs to sort of, I guess, suppress reality and try and escape from my reality. My family were really far away. They were all the way in Greece. My mum's British, my dad was Greek, and they sent me to the UK for the best reasons, to support with my education and to give me a fresh start with my education. But of course, there was no telling what would be there when I arrived. And coming from a small island, it was a very different culture to the culture that was in the UK, especially at that time. We hadn't had the Me Too movement yet. We hadn't had celebrities being honest about how they are feeling. So it was a very different time. Even 15, 20 years ago, it was a very different time to even now. Now we've got social media, which is at the forefront. As I said before, it's a very dangerous tool, but it's also a really good tool when it comes to advocating and supporting people and also sending out a message. And the young people nowadays who are probably going through very similar things to me, because things haven't changed that drastically in schools, but there is that social media presence of people like myself that are out there sort of saying, you know what, it's okay to feel these feelings, and it's okay to be who you are. While I'm doing a lot of stuff around my own mental health, and around sort of, I'm out there quite a lot, you know, I'm online, I'm kind of out there, but
Yes.
I'm still struggling with my own demons. I'm still waiting for trauma therapy myself. I'm still waiting for various different therapies. I'm in a BPD support group in which meet every week. So to say that I'm doing well, I wouldn't say I'm doing well, and that's okay with me. I'm fine with not doing well at the moment, because I know there's a lot of things that I need to still uncover.
Mhm.
And I think when someone's so out there as well, I feel like friends and family may not check in on them because they're doing lots of things outside, on social media, if that makes sense. And I think
Yeah.
something that I do want to stress, if you are one of those people that's out there, your feelings are still valid, that there is such a thing as a high functioning sufferer of mental
Yeah.
health. We
That's
see
interesting. I like that
do
phrase.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Great
we've got a
phrase.
lot of celebrities out there who have suffered, or who are suffering, who
Mhm.
are making films, and you wouldn't tell. Mental health it's invisible. You don't know if somebody has something, which is why it's so difficult for the sufferer. It's so difficult for the person who is suffering.
Mm.
Moving forward, for my story, I moved to Guildford, Surrey, in the UK when I was 18, to
Okay.
attend music college, which was an amazing step for me, because I was in a vicinity with a lot of misfits and a lot of people who were creatives, were like me, very sensitive people, and just were very misunderstood. There
Yeah.
was still the drug problem. I did also start having symptoms of eating disorder when I was 16, 17, moving through to my early adulthood.
Okay.
And it was due to, I believe, due to the bullying, and due to not having that early intervention when I was
Yeah.
at school.
Mm.
Going forward from that, I started sort of dabbling with even harder drugs and more alcohol, to the age of about 26. I'm now 31.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
26. And then I kind of just had a nervous breakdown, I guess. Like, my body just went, I'm done. I'm done
Yeah.
with this. I don't know how to carry on.
Yeah.
And throughout college, I was very suicidal. I had issues throughout college with that. A couple of attempts as well through college, and also when I was 29. And that's when I had the discussion with the mental health team, was when I was 29.
Okay.
Again, at breaking point, where I was at the hospital, and they then referred me to the mental health team. In the UK, we are lucky, we do have the NHS, but of course it's very clogged up. There's a lot of people needing that
Yes.
support. And my whole fight now is for early intervention, because I had to get to that point of breaking point twice, to get that intervention. And as I understand, it's not, there's so much going on, but at the same time, there needs to be more of these discussions. There needs to be more interventions. I was lucky enough to get the support. I was lucky enough to be referred to the mental health team, which is when I got my diagnosis of BPD. So I only got the diagnosis a few years ago, in 2019.
Gotcha.
And that's when I started going forward a lot more. Before that, I probably wouldn't. If you'd asked me maybe 2 years ago, to be this honest, or maybe even a year ago, I'd have probably gone, nah, I can't do it. But I'm just so unapologetic now, because I'm just like, you know what? There's going to be someone out there that, like me, needs that intervention, like me, needs that support early on,
Yes.
and doesn't get it from the right resources. And actually listening to podcasts like this, listening to people who are just human beings trying to get on with their lives,
Yes.
will actually help them go forward. I do love talking. I love talking for Britain. But it's such a passionate subject of mine, just to talk about mental health, and
Yeah.
to try and be that person that I needed when I was younger.
Yeah.
If we move forward, after 2019, things did start getting better, because with that diagnosis of BPD, predominantly it was BPD, and then the psychiatrist said, you probably have a bit of PTSD in there as well, and just sort of threw loads of mixtures into the cocktail. And I was like, okay, that's fine, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right, fine, it is what it is. I guess my brain, I love to dissect stuff. So when I got the diagnosis, I was scared, but I also I was fascinated by learning about it. So
Sure.
I went away and just learned everything I could about the diagnosis, everything I could about who I was. Because before that, a lot of people, I'm sure, will resonate with this. I felt very isolated from society, because with BPD, the thought process is so different. It's very black and white. It's very different thinking to mainly a normal,
Yeah.
in inverted commas, person.
Correct. Yes.
And, you know, going forward with that diagnosis and with that sort of intervention, I was like, okay, I'm going to research this. I looked online, looked at uni lectures, I've joined loads of support groups, I joined loads of pages, and everything just clicked into place. And actually, with the diagnosis, it helped me move forward. It helped me go, okay, I'm not just a freak, you know,
No,
there is
right.
something going on.
Mhm.
And it's something that other people suffer with, and I don't feel so alone. You know, like with anything, being in a group of people who understand you
Yes.
really
Yeah.
does help.
Yeah.
I then got a job in mental health myself. I work in mental health myself, and obviously my lived experience is something that I pride myself with, to support other people with difficulties very similar to mine.
Mhm.
And that has really helped me as well, because the job itself, everyone in the job is so understanding. You know, my managers, everyone is so, you know, we've all suffered by ourselves in our own respective ways,
Exactly. Yeah.
and we're all together trying to help other people. And for me, that job suits me as well, especially with my BPD and the way I am. You
Yeah.
know, I'm
I
working from home,
understand.
which is great.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm able to just manage myself and be in control of what I do, which again, for someone with my diagnosis, is very important, that I have those tools in place and that control to be able to support myself and know what's going to happen from day to day. And I wouldn't say I'm where I want to be fully. I've got a long way to go with my trauma therapy. A lot of my trauma comes from childhood, so of course it's a very complex situation, because when you're an adult, I'm not saying that trauma doesn't affect you, but it's affecting you differently when you're a child. As your brain hasn't developed, you're not fully aware of who you are. There's a lot going on with puberty, with hormones, you know, there's so much going on anyway.
Yeah.
And to top that up with trauma, it's a very difficult time for anyone, but of course for young people, for children, it's very even more so, because it's right from wrong, and then that black and white thinking, I think, comes from childhood, and it sort of, I guess, followed me through to adulthood. But yeah, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm really grateful for the chances I've had in life to continue living, I guess.
Yes.
And the chance to be able to tell my story, because like I said a few years ago, I wouldn't have been able to sit here and talk to you this openly about anything, because I guess I was ashamed of what I'd been through, because society stigmatizes mental health.
They sure do. Yeah.
You know, I don't know what it's like in the US, but in the UK, we're getting to the point where we are talking about it, but it seems to be very, there's a bit of a divide. You know, social media and media do tell us to talk about it, but when someone does, there's a lot of hate there. There's a lot of discrimination still, you know, in workplaces in the UK. We're still not 100% where we should be.
Yeah.
And
That's
I guess
true.
with the likes of social media, that is a power that we do have, to do what we need to do. And yeah, I'm just using the platform and the tool as much as I can to just talk about it openly. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human. Everyone's feelings are valid. Mental health doesn't discriminate. You know, you can be someone who hasn't ever experienced mental health issues, and then boom, it can happen.
Right.
Especially with the pandemic and stuff, you know, going on in the world anyway. Like with my line of work, we have seen a lot of people come through which have never experienced mental health in their lifetime, and this pandemic's really thrown everyone off course. Yeah, I'll let you talk now, because I like to talk.
No, that's okay. No, I just had a question though, because I what I was thinking was the timing of your diagnosis lines up with the pandemic and the lockdown, and so here you finally have this diagnosis, so you feel like, okay, it's not just me. This is a thing. You know what I'm saying? It's something recognized. And then you're hit with the lockdown. So how are you coping with the isolation? How that's happening all at the same time? I'm just curious how you did that.
I mean, personally for me, lockdown was the time I really needed to do the research that I needed to do. I use being busy as a distraction for my own issues. So without those distractions, I was able to really sit down and look at BPD and dissect BPD and join the groups that I needed to join, and actually get into my own head. It was very scary, and it still sometimes can be, but I needed that quiet and that peace to just go, I need to figure what's going on. You know, I can't keep going on like this. You know, I know that for my future, I want to be a happy adult. At the moment, I would say I'm still in survival mode. I'm still very much still surviving instead of just living and enjoying my life to the full. And with the lockdown, I mean, personally, I really enjoyed being able to just sit there in my own space and go, right, what I called myself out on a lot of stuff, like a lot. And without that time to be able to do that, I probably wouldn't be talking to you today so openly, like, to be honest. It was that lockdown that helped me with that.
Right. It's true. It's so funny because I'm, a highly sensitive person like yourself. I definitely am an empath. That's why we're here. I'm a nurse, and
Yeah.
it was so funny. What was it? I saw a funny quote that was like, introverts, this is our time, because you get to stay home instead of, like you're told to. But yeah, you get in your little cocoon and you can face some of these things, and you get to do it for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it does take that, almost like immersion into your healing. So it's wonderful that you use that time of isolation, forced isolation, as a time to do some healing. My next question actually is about your family, mom, dad, siblings. As you were coming out and as you were saying, hey, this is how I'm suffering, this is what I was diagnosed with, how did they receive your diagnosis, and how are they receiving you being so outspoken? Because some families are great and some aren't. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, of course. So unfortunately, my father passed away when I was 21.
Oh, I'm so
he's
sorry.
not, it's okay. So he's not, unfortunately, been able to ever know fully what's wrong with my mental health. But he did have bipolar. So he did suffer with his own mental health issues. And mental health was always something that we did have in our household, if that makes sense. It wasn't taboo. My mum's been really supportive. Like, she knew all along that something wasn't 100% right with me. Like, she knew from the start that, I was different. I was a bit quirky, and she always says that to me. She's always like, I'm your mother. I know you more than you know yourself. I know your tantrums. I know when you just need to cool off, and you'll always come back and say sorry. You'll always, and my brother, my brother gets it as well. I don't talk to my brother loads about mental health, but, I guess, I think he's on his own journey with his own stuff as well. So, I think my whole family, realistically, they do get it. They're really quite down to earth, logical people, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm very much a free spirit. So my mum's a little bit more closed than I am, and I think it's just a generation thing as well. But she does get it. She does understand that this is a thing, and mental health, it's gonna affect everyone. And she is a very intelligent woman, and with that, she's brilliant at that. And of course, my own story starts where, my family, I was adopted from Romania. So
interesting.
So my mum knew from the start that maybe I would come with some complications because of that.
Right.
And my brother was so as well. So, she knew when she signed up for it, basically. And she has been nothing but supportive, even when I was at school, even when I'm here, and she's over in Greece. I can call her whenever I need to and say, Mum, I've got this issue, or Mum, this has happened. I need your help. And she is one of those mums that's like, okay, what's going on?
Isn't that wonderful?
Logical.
Yeah.
And it's a very logical like she's got a very logical sort of solid approach.
Yeah.
And for someone like me, that actually really helps, because if I'm panicking, I don't need her to be panicking as well.
Right. No, I understand. That doesn't help.
It's solid. And she is a very strong woman. And if I could be half the woman she is, I would be really grateful. So yeah, like, if you're listening to this, she listens to all my stuff as well. And that's not why I'm saying it, but of course, she does appreciate where I've come from, and she does appreciate that we are quite different, but that works because I do need that solid sort of like strong woman role model to go, look, stop doing this, don't, like, think about this logically. And with my black and white brain, she's great to be, she can really support me with that. So I am very lucky. I do appreciate that not everyone has a support network with close family, but luckily, fingers crossed, long may it continue, I do have a support network where I know if something goes wrong, if poo hits the fan, let's say, come over and sort it out.
Right. Well, that's sweet. That's sweet of you to say, and all moms need to hear that. We try so hard, and you're just a regular person who happens to have a child, and you're like, okay, what's the least amount of damage I can do?
That's it. There's no manual, is there, for parenting? And I think, and that's it. My mum's always gone, I wish there was something maybe more I could have done, or maybe, with your BPD, and I said, look, it is what it is. There is no manual with it. You've done your best that you can for myself and my brother, and it's all I can ask for. You know, she's great. She's a great woman. She's an artist as well, so she's an empath too.
See, yeah, the creative person, the empath, the highly sensitive. So, you know, and my daughter is the same. She's a musician, and so they
Awesome.
feel you feel things.
Oh, yeah.
At such a more saturated level. I don't know how else to explain it, but and when you do, you have your own stuff, plus you're absorbing the people around you that you care about. So it's just like this storm of emotion. So I understand how you spiral. Now, what I really want to dig into is what worked for you, because we want to bring forward any therapy, any book, any speaker, anything specifically when the pandemic hit, you're at home, you're doing a deep dive into your healing. What were your resources? Who were your favorite people that helped you?
So for me, I made sure that I went to resources which were legit, because I know that there's a lot of information out there and I didn't want to be misinformed and all of that, because I know that it could be, you know, more dangerous than good. So I did go onto the NHS website and I had a look through there, and there's Mind UK as well. I looked on there. And then I went on YouTube and looked at university lectures where they explained about the brain and BPD and things like that.
Good.
For me, that was what I knew full well, that I needed to be very careful with where I looked to start off with.
Smart.
And then obviously Dr. Google's great with the sort of the symptoms and the things like that. And the doctor that I was talking to, the psychiatrist at the time, was really helpful too. So he did give me some resources like the NHS website, and he did say, be sure that you don't just go to any odd website. Because as of course we know, BPD can come with stigma, it can come with difficult discussions, and if you go into a rabbit hole of sort of posts and pages, you know, you might find that people are not very positive about BPD. You know, I've had discrimination thrown at me as well, you know, with it, you know, lots of people with BPD are narcissists, you know, they're sort of putting us all in the same boat, and people can be narcissists. It doesn't really, your diagnosis is not an excuse for that. It's an explanation of why your behavior might be different, but it's not an excuse for any of that sort of behavior.
Right.
And that's, for me, I had to be very careful not to go down that rabbit hole. And I would advise everyone who is listening to this, don't go down the rabbit hole. It is an easy thing to do, but just be aware that, you know, that there are resources out there that are more, I guess, helpful and more ethical. So just make sure that you're looking at the right things. Ask friends, if you have friends that you can trust, to look for you as well if you feel like you're a bit overwhelmed, because I do think the word diagnosis, I think because of the stigma around mental health, it's like a taboo word. It's like, oh no, there's my label. You know, I'm not my BPD, I'm not my PTSD. They're parts of who I am, but they're not defining who I am.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think that's very important to flag, because I do think that with diagnosis, it can go either way. You know, for me, luckily it went the positive way, but I can understand that with some people, because of the stigma and the negativity around different diagnoses and different mental health conditions, we're all put in the same pot. You know, we're all put in the same pot and say, you know, if you've got BPD, you must be like that, you must be like that, when actually, you know, even in films you see lots of different mental health issues being, I guess, shown in a really negative light.
Yeah.
You know, schizophrenia, things like that. It's always like in scary films, and it's like, no, these people are people, you know. Very similar with BPD, you know, we're supposed to be evil, really conniving people, and it's like, no, you know, there's people everywhere that are like that, regardless of the diagnosis. And I think that's one thing I would stress to people who are listening is do your own research. Know that it's not defying who you are fully. Know that you can still live a life without the label, let's say, in inverted commas. You know, it's part of who you are. And I think it's very helpful actually to get the diagnosis, because when you've got a broken leg, or when you've got, like, I don't know, you sprained your ankle, you go to the doctor and they find out what's wrong, and they go, all right, you've got a sprained ankle, you need to do this treatment. No one bats an eyelid. Or, you know, you've got a broken arm or splinter in your whatever, no one bats an eyelid. But once they talk about diagnosis of mental health, people panic because of the stigma, and because they're worried that people will look at that. I was one of those people. I still sometimes am, you know, even for me now to reach out when I am struggling, I find it really difficult because of the stigma. And I just wanted to stress that, you know, I could be here all night talking about this, because it's something I'm so passionate about. You know, it is a taboo subject to some extent still, the diagnosis side. But I think, again, with these conversations that we are having so openly and unapologetically, hopefully very soon, we'll see a change.
Yeah. And I think the stigma, I do think, I feel here in the US that there are, number one, more resources.
Yeah.
We are, I think, definitely more open. I
Yeah.
don't know. Is there any human walking that couldn't have a diagnosis of some sort? You know what I'm saying? We're all
Yeah,
struggling.
I do know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
And so I think we need to normalize it where you are.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through bouts of depression, and sometimes it sticks. And
100%.
We have to normalize the conversation. It's like saying you're not human.
Yeah.
Which I find it very frustrating that it's not normal. I find it very frustrating. Well, of course, mental health is something we should be talking about, because that's part of the human experience. That's what we all go through, and we need to support each other.
Definitely 100%.
On BPD, is there a book, like if you had to recommend one book that you feel is sound, is strong, is fair, and is a good resource, not these questionable resources that worry you? What book, can you think of one that you would
I
recommend?
can actually. There's a couple that I have got that I've bought off Amazon.
Okay.
One of them is called BPD for Dummies.
Okay.
And it just simplifies everything down. And if you've got family and friends, or if you're new diagnosed to BPD, definitely look at that, because it just simplifies it all down for you. It's not this cluster of just stuff.
Yeah.
The other one I would recommend is I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. And that you can also get that on Amazon as well. And it just explains a little bit more about insight. Some people have said it's quite discriminatory, but I don't think so. I think it's maybe a different book to the Dummies book, but it does explain things in a certain way.
Gotcha.
There's also resources on Facebook. If you type BPD support on Facebook, you can join forums. I've got a couple of mine where people share experiences. It is moderated by administrators, so you can't, if it's too triggering or anything too much, they will remove the post, which I understand is completely understandable. Right. But yeah, you can sort of say if you've had an experience and you want to share it with like-minded people, you can just say, today I had this issue and my mind did this. Does anyone else feel like that?
Right.
Like anything, on Facebook you can get that. And I found that when I was getting to terms with everything, I found that really helpful, because I was like, oh my God, there's a whole community out here.
Yes,
and the pages on Facebook are worldwide, so you can join from anywhere in the world, which is brilliant. And people are posting constantly, things that so much of it I resonate with, like changing your hair, changing your appearance, lots of things like that a lot of sufferers do. Yes. Or things like black and white thinking, splitting, all of this. It's such a knowledgeable tool to have actually on your phone.
Yeah.
But I would also, like I said, the two books I would recommend is the two that I've mentioned, because they're light reading, they're not too much, and you can understand them. And there is a section in there where it's about friends and family, and how friends and family can support you and
how
support
nice.
themselves
through
the experience of having someone in their life with the difficulties, because I can understand that for friends and family it must be difficult, because their minds don't work like ours. So
right. Would you say, now that you've done all this reading, all this research, this healing, this therapy, reached out to all these resources and so forth, would you say, if, like, comparing old self to new self, if you felt yourself going down again, going to a dark place again, what would you do different now that you may not have done before?
I think for me, my whole circumstances is different. So I'm living with my long-term partner now, and he's always here as well. He works in the day, but he is here in the evening. So for me, it would be reaching out to my partner, reaching out to people who care about me. And I think that's what I didn't do. But also because I'm more aware of myself, and I think that does come with age, I would be maybe more aware of the signs, because it's happened before. So I'd be like, oh, I know, like I get heart palpitations when I get really anxious, and I know when they come on, something I'm doing is not right, and I need to stop whatever I'm doing and calm down and go back to basics and reset. And it's very similar with my own mental health. If I know I'm having a bad day, or if I know I'm going to go down again, also my partner will know. He'll recognize. I've been with him for maybe 2 years now, and he can recognize as well when I'm plummeting or when I'm having a bad day. And another thing I do is I like to nap. So if I know I'm having, like, if I'm struggling one day, because it still happens, unfortunately, with BPD, you can be on top of the world one day and you can wake up the next and feel absolutely crap. Like,
Horrible.
angry for no reason.
Yeah.
And I have days like that a lot, you know, especially in winter. You know, we're here in the UK, you know, it's cold and cloudy and not very nice. And that can definitely help. That can definitely affect my mood as well.
Sure.
And I think it's just surrounding myself with things I know help, like Netflix. I've got 2 cats, you know, I've got these 2 cats in September, and I have to say they've really helped me. And it's just finding, I guess, the tools and the things that help me. Like I said, I'm still not 100% there. I still get night terrors. I still get nightmares of past experiences and things. And I'm aware that I need to go to therapy to support myself with and find more further tools to support myself. But with the things that I am able to support myself with, I guess, because I've experienced them a few times, I know the signs and I know I just need to switch off. And my friend circle now is very different to the friend circle I had back then.
Yep.
I know I don't need to explain myself. If I don't feel right, I just say, look, I don't feel like meeting up today. I'm having a bad mental health day.
Yep.
And that's one thing I would definitely, if you can, I know not everyone is as lucky as that, but if you can, surround yourself with people who understand. Surround yourself with a small network of people who get it and can help you when you're finding things difficult. My friends know, they can sense when I'm having a bad day, and they'll say,
"Those are good friends."
To it, you know, I'm just going to leave you to it, or they'll intervene. You know, I can appreciate you're having a bad day. Do you want to talk about it? And then a couple of those little pushes, and I'll be like, okay, wow, like the floodgates will open and I won't stop. But having that network of friends does help. And I guess, like I said, with age, I know myself more now. I don't think I know myself fully just yet, but I definitely know myself a lot more than I did. And it's recognizing those things, those signs, a bit like anything. You know, if you've got a weak ankle, you know, you might have support for it and stuff, and then sometimes it might sort of flare up during certain times of the month.
Exactly.
You know those signs because you've had that ankle problem either for your life, or you know what to do with it. Very similar to my mental health. You know, oh, that's playing up, right? Okay, hot chocolate and a Netflix film with some popcorn, right? Done. or a bubble bath, that helps me out. If I'm having an overwhelming time, I'll get a Lush. We have a shop, I don't know if you guys have it over there, a Lush. It's called Lush, and it's got all these different bath bombs.
Yes, we do have that. I know just what you mean. Yes,
good. And that for me helps out. You know, just having that, very cliche, but having a hot bath, and just reading a magazine or whatever it is that I'm reading, just helps me switch off. I like to do mindfulness as well. I do online sessions once a week or once every fortnight. I go online and there's this community, like I log on to that, and the facilitator takes the group and mindfulness. I always fall asleep, but I don't know if I'm supposed to do that, but I really feel relaxed when I do that. And that,
what is that process? What is that like? I'm not sure what that's like.
Mindfulness, so it's kind of like meditation, I guess, in a way, but you're not completely, you know, sort of sitting on, you know, you're not sitting upright with your legs crossed going on, you know, it's
right.
sort of, it's there's a facilitator, and it's online at the moment, obviously because of COVID, and he just talks you through like the breathing, and a lot of it is about breathing. A lot of it is about switching off and breathing and focusing on your breath. And that for me, I never do that. I'm so out there, like busy, breathe, doesn't stop. Right. And with the mindfulness stuff, I just go, right, okay, I'm just going to chill now and listen.
Brings you into the moment.
Gentleman talking. And sometimes I listen to mindfulness not tapes, or not, this a bit old school, mindfulness video audios when I'm going to sleep. Because that really helps me like relax and stuff.
Shut the brain off. It's so hard. You know, as you're talking, something that I find is so important, especially, you know, where the NHS is so backed up and where the resources are limited. It's so nice to hear that, you know, say someone does reach out to the NHS and, you know, your appointment is in 6 or 8 months from now. It's like, really, what am I supposed to do between now and then? You know, and so you're a beautiful example of like, okay, I have more work to do, but look at all I can do in the meantime. Look at all these resources, these communities I can reach out to in the meantime. And so even if you have to wait for that quote unquote formal therapy or some sort of formal evaluation, there's plenty that you can do to at least feel supported, educate yourself and feel supported. And you've done that. And I think that's fabulous.
Thank you.
And just, you know, it's so funny. Some of the simplest things, you know, the breathing, taking a bath. It's like those things, I don't care how simple they are. They just quiet the mind, and not being able to shut off your brain. My goodness, any creative person, any highly sensitive person understands that 1000%. You mentioned Netflix, and I do like to ask a fun question. What movie, if you had to name 1, 2, or 3 movies that uplift you or just help you feel like in a dark day, I'm going to be all right, what would you say are your go-tos?
Well, at the moment, I can't lie to you, I watch a lot of murder documentaries because they make me think. But believe it or not, even if I'm having a bad day, if I'm watching them, it makes me think. It engages my brain and my subconscious
How
and
to
conscious
solve
are
it.
going.
Yeah.
Like I said, I love to dissect things. I love to investigate
Gotcha.
things, and
That makes
these
sense. You're funny.
I haven't watched an uplifting film for a while. I did watch Spider-Man at the cinema the other day, and that was really good.
Okay.
And I'm in the process at the moment of watching all the Marvel films as well on Netflix and Disney Plus. So that's something, you know, I like those because they are quite fast moving. So if I was going to say 3 of those that I really like is Black Panther. I'm in the middle of watching Jessica Jones at the moment, and I really enjoyed Daredevil. Daredevil. I think he's fascinating. He's blind and he does all this cool stuff, and it's like, oh wow, look at this. You know, he's not letting his disability get in the way of him, and I really like that. You know, and there's something about that like shone light with my own mental health. I was like, this guy, he's blind, he can't see anything, and he's just, obviously I know it's make believe or whatever, but it's just a really cool little message. But to be honest with you, the majority of things I do watch are murder documentaries. I'm on Discovery Plus. It's amazing for that. And there's one of the documentaries that I watch is called Faking It, and it's 3 analysts, and they analyze criminals' behavior in an interview, and they then break it down and say, okay, his body language is doing this, his eyes are doing this, and I
love that
fascinating,
very fascinating. I know what you mean.
And I think murder documentaries also, they make me think, they make me feel and think, and I think, oh, you know, that's very shocking, and that's very different to my own life. This person has gone out and not accessed the help, and they've actually murdered someone. You know, and it's very, you know, you just wonder what's happened in that person's life. And because of my own dissecting brain, I just love, it's just fascinating to think what drove someone to that point. You know, and that for me is what I love to do on my my Saturday night.
It's very interesting. You know what I'm saying? All behavior has meaning. And I think it's certainly watching those stories, because they're so extreme, you know, brings perspective to your own situation. And I think it can't help but make you reflect on yourself and think, okay, I did what I needed to do before I go that far off the rail. You know what I'm saying? And it just, you know, and being a very fascinated by mental health, and you're passionate about it, obviously those things you will find fascinating. And I always find fascinating just being able to solve it, you know, the whodunit part of it, you know what I mean?
That whodunit, and if I can guess before, but at the moment, I've mentioned this before, my internet's quite funny, so at the moment I'm reading a book called Women Don't Owe You Pretty, because watching a documentary when it just suddenly stops, it's not great. So I have put it on hold. I'm not gonna lie, I have put them on hold at the moment until I can fix this internet problem or get a guy in. And I'm actually reading this book called Women Don't Owe You Pretty. It's fascinating. It's a very good book, and it's nothing to do with mental health, but it's to do with just women and how we're perceived in media and how we're perceived in the world, and it's brilliant. I would recommend that to anyone who wants to learn a little bit about the patriarchy and things like that. It's brilliant. Really good book.
You have me curious.
I'll try and send you a link.
Please do. And I do a little reference page at the end, so I'd want to put that up. You know, everything that you recommend, I'm going to create a page at the end. You know, that points to something else I saw on your Instagram page is the body image, women in their body image. So I'm going to give you a minute to talk about that before my final question.
Sure.
Talk about the woman's body image that you're focusing on that.
So for me, I'm focusing on body neutrality. So I feel like there's a lot out there with around body positivity, which could be perceived as toxic positivity, because we're all women. We're all human. Everyone has hang-ups with their body. Everyone has days, you know, even the most beautiful model in the world has days where she's like, oh God, I don't want to look at my, you know, of course. And because what's perceived on social media isn't what's real, you know, we're unfortunately we're in an age where people are editing their photos, people are trying to conform to society's perfect, I think that body acceptance and body appreciation is so important, probably even more than looking on the outside. So for me, what I'm doing as an eating disorder, an ex-eating disorder sufferer, I don't know how you'd call that, I look at how I can appreciate my body. And I put out a message actually today, funnily enough, ironically, I put out a message today about that. And it's all about accepting the body and accepting that it's something that's carried you through all the things that it's carried you through, and not focusing on the outside so much. Because I think as a society, we are obsessed with likes, follows. And I think it's important that we look at how much our body has actually supported us through our own lives and childbirth, trauma, so much that our bodies have taken us through. And recently I've been working with an MP in the UK called Dr. Luke Evans, and he's trying to put forward to Parliament that if someone does edit their photographs, they need to tell people. And I think that's so important, and I'm so 100% behind that, because like anything, like when you're watching a film and it's got the warning at the start, this is an 18 film warning, violence, could have this, could have that, whatever. And I think that we need to follow the times with pictures online, because influencers are selling us this product and selling us the idea of perfect, in inverted commas, and young people especially are getting so affected by it.
So true.
And I try really, I was one of those people in the past that did edit all my pictures, because again, I was sucked into this world
perfection,
of perfection, and I need to fit in with social media, I need to be liked, and the validation was coming from other people, not just myself. And that for me in lockdown was something that I figured out, because I didn't have anyone around me, because I wasn't able to go out and do all these cool photo shoots or whatever. I had to just validate myself, and for me that was great, because I was able to just say to myself, you are enough, regardless of if someone else doesn't like you or not. And social media it is quite a toxic place, because a lot of people do rely on likes and follows and these blue ticks, and I think people judge people on how many likes they have and how many followers they have, and I think it's just really wrong. And going back, to body image, that kind of goes into it as well. We've got this idea of perfect, and actually I think being healthy and being accepting of what you have is probably a very healthier way of looking at it than being like, oh, I've got a bum that does this, or I've got a boobs that do this. I think focusing on that can be very difficult to all. There's some days where I wake up and I'm like, yeah, I got it, I've still got it. But there's some days where I'm like, I don't like what I look like in the mirror. I don't like what I'm seeing. And I think with body positivity, it's telling us to be positive all the time, and that's just not possible. With especially with women, we have a lot of hang-ups, we have a lot of pressure to look a certain way, act a certain way. And with the body neutrality movement and the body acceptance movement, it's saying actually it doesn't matter if what you look like, it's just accepting what your body has been through and what your body is in its whole entirety.
I think that's fabulous. I think that's brilliant, because we only look at the aesthetics of our body. We only, and so you taught me something here as I'm sitting here. I know it's lovely. This is why I love these conversations. It's like, I've had a child, and my God, that was not easy. And I'm going to be 50 next year, so things are not going to be what they were when I was younger, and that's okay. But everything we focus on is the aesthetic, not the fact that I can still walk, I can feed myself, I can breathe on my own. You know what I'm saying? My body is doing amazing things. Even if I don't look great in a bathing suit, it's still doing all these things for me every single day. And that's a whole new perspective on appreciating the body. And I'm just going to tell you to shout that from the rooftops, my friend, because we need that. We need that. So that's wonderful. I don't know, just something about the way you said it was just brings you an appreciation outside of what you can see. You know what I'm saying? So that's so important.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of just learned that on my own accord, because I was constantly comparing myself to other people, and I thought actually, my body's been through so much, as a child, through trauma. I've survived eating disorders, I've survived drug abuse, I've survived all of that, and I'm here talking to you. You're here. And that body has it's resilient, it's strong, it's healthy,
clearly.
And there's some people that I know from my own friendship groups who didn't make it because they were abusing drugs, who didn't have the privilege of growing old, like I hopefully will, you know,
Yeah.
and that is very sad in itself. And,
Yeah.
you know, like you said, I get up every morning, I can see what I'm looking, I can see my legs move, my arms, like, there's so much that I should appreciate, regardless of what my body looks like, because there's people out there that don't have arms, they don't have legs, and unfortunately they would love to have arms and legs, and it's an insult to those people for me to say, oh, my legs look bad or my bum looks bad. Do you know what? Yeah, it's an insult to those people, and
Absolutely.
I'm learning slowly to recognize that and to pass that message on to people who need it, I guess.
That's just so well stated. Genuinely, I'm just very impressed with
Thank you.
your twist on that, and to bring a new perspective to the way we assess our body. That's so important. Elle, you're just lovely. You're dynamite.
Thank you.
Your pages are just so thoughtfully done, and the things that you're part of are very meaningful. And I admire how you're getting to the heart of the problem without apologizing. Like you said, hey, we need to address the elephant in the room, and we're going to go there. And I think it's so important. And you're going to be part of shifting that attitude in England. And you should be very, very proud of yourself. My closing question always is, for the person who is watching this, who is in a very dark place, who doesn't feel like they can go on, who's ready to hang it up, basically, what would you say to them to give them some hope?
I would say to them that you are worthy of the support that you need, and you're worthy. Your feelings are valid, and you're feeling like this for a reason, and they are valid, and you're worthy of the help, and you're worthy of recovery. Because I wish someone had told me that, because it would have helped me out a lot when I was a lot younger. I had to kind of figure it out myself, I guess, through trial and error. And I know that people reaching out is so difficult. I get that. I appreciate that. So let us reach in.
Yeah. I love it. You're very interesting in the best kind of way. It's so exciting to talk to people, because, you know, you think you've got it figured out, and then everyone's perspective, very unique perspective, brings something new, and seeing it all through your eyes, you know what I'm saying? You're bringing an understanding. You know, I've had my own struggles with depression, but you know, the people I talk to definitely struggle at a more serious level, you know, and so having somebody out there fighting for mental health who can see it from that side is so critical. And I just think you're going to do great things.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you for all the work that you're doing out in the US as well with that.
Thank you. Well, Elle, so nice to have you. I do wish you a great rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
And certainly send us anyone who has a story that you feel is helpful. We want to hear from them. So just say, hey, you need to get on this podcast because your story can help people. That's what we want to do.
100%. I've got a few people in mind, actually. Definitely.
Oh, good. Oh, please send them my way. That'd be great. Thank you so much again.
Thank you for your time as well.
All right. You have a good rest of your evening.
Yeah, have a good rest of your day. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.